How's it going, everybody? My name is Artorigold, and today I'm going to be smurfing as Lucio in a gold, probably right on the border of platinum kind of ranked game. Now, there's this crazy notion out there that you have to play DPS in order to carry, and I'm going to go ahead and say that's not true at all. You can definitely carry games as support and tank. Playing super aggressively with tank or support is a great way to get a lot of value, but you have to make sure to always, stay near your team and heal them as Lucio. So at the very beginning of the game, Lucio, this takes a little practice with each map, but there's usually a good little rollout. We like to call it rollouts. Basically, when you're just able to get out of the map as soon as possible. If it's a control or king of the hill map, you always want to use your speed right outside of the gate so you can go and fight in the middle and get set up before the enemy. Make sure you get a good rollout. One of the keys to a good rollout is to use your jumps. If you just sit and wall ride the whole way, for example, if you were to just stay on one wall and you were to just ride it the whole way, it'd be a lot slower than just say jumping off here at this point and then jumping off here again. Kind of like hopping, kind of like a frog. You would hop and it would be a lot more speed. So on this, I'm just going to make sure to wall ride as much, and here I see that they have a Widow. So immediately I kind of want to back off and start playing around these walls and corners because I don't want to try and contest the Widow too much. But at the same time, since it's a lower rank, usually the Widowmakers aren't going to be able to do that much damage to you. It's kind of unlikely if you're playing at a platinum and level lower that the Widowmakers are going to have good accuracy. For example, the Widowmaker, she's right here. So she's already shooting kind of in my direction, but going over to this area because I have the momentum, I can get over here to these walls and to these corners. And by being this distance away from her, it's very easy for me to close the gap with my speed boost and do damage to her. So here I'm able to do damage to a Widow. Now, depending on your proximity to a Widow, this can be either a really good plan or a really bad plan. As we can see, the Widow is all alone and she's not even looking at me. So this is a perfect time for me to chip away at her health. I could probably get some headshots allowing me to get her like below half or to half. That's usually where you could get as Lucio. And then what you want to do is, so for example, I knock her down, which wasn't really my intention. I was just trying to mess up her aim and get her against this wall, but it gave her a little bit more lift than I meant to, so she went over this wall. So that was a little bit more of a mistake. This is the thing. You don't want to stay in one area for too long as Lucio. Yeah, she has low health, but you gotta look at it from this. There's a Moira right here, and she's right in range to heal, and you as Lucio do not have the damage output to kill somebody if they're going to be pocketed by a Moira or a Ana or a Mercy. But not only that, the Roadhog's right here too. So there's potential one-shots. Not only is she going to be able to get pocketed, but you have to take and you got to respect the opponent a little bit. Even though the Widowmaker might not be able to headshot you at this range, the Roadhog has a pretty easy time of hooking you. But also, she's going to be healed and your damage output isn't going to be that great. So instead of just sitting here and committing to it where there's going to be a lot of risk, you're going to just kind of do guerrilla warfare, and you're going to attack her, get her low, and then just run around corners, and then you're going to go find something else to shoot at and go heal your team. So you want to be distracting. If I wasn't there, then the Widowmaker would have been able to stand up here for a lot longer than she was, and she would have just been uncontested this whole time. And look what we have over here. Our soldier, we have our Ana. She would have been she could have done a lot of potential damage to her, and the only other person that could have gone up there and contest her would be the D.Va, because our Reinhardt is down here on the front line. He's not going to be a deal with it, and we don't have a Winston. And in this instance, we also have our D.Va who's out of mech, so the only person that can contest a Widow sometimes is Lucio. I would say that it could be a good idea to contest a Widow on almost any map. It really is map dependent. So I want to talk about another thing here, which is boop usage and how to use your boop usage to help you aim your left clicks easier. See, for this example, I'm not going to be able to hit her off the edge. She's going to be aware of it. As sneaky as you can be with your environmental kills as Lucio, you always have to keep in mind that the enemy team, they're not stupid. They know that you can boop. I don't think there's anybody out there who's not expecting you to boop them off the edge. So they're going to try to play around the corner. So what you can do is you can actually just boop them into a corner or against a wall, and that allows you to land your left clicks way easier. And you'll see what I mean here. See, I boop her in the wall, and I'm able to land every single one of my shots. They're not headshots, but normally you can still get the kill. See right there, it's pretty easy to get the kills. Use your right clicks to slow their momentum and push them against the wall, so they're just easier targets for you to hit with your left click. It's just something that helps you with your accuracy. Also, you can use your melees. Don't be afraid to use your melee and your boop as well, because that's about 50 damage. Your boop does 25 and the melee does 30, I believe. So it's a good amount of damage. So you can just get in their face and just burst them if they're really low. And your headshots are also pretty surprising. So here I want to talk about my movement. You notice I'm not staying in one place. I'm not like committing to one target. And that's something you have to keep in mind with Lucio. Don't commit yourself to one target unless it's somebody who's just completely uncontested that needs to be dealt with, and you're the only one who can do it. If your team is able to do that job better, then let them and communicate that to them, and do not go on solo missions to do that. But here you're going to just be annoying. So the Roadhog, I'm not going to contest the Roadhog. You know, I'll get in his face, I'll shoot him, but I'm not going to sit there and wait for him to hook me. And I'm going to play around corners. Movement with Lucio is all around switching locations and playing around corners. So here I go from the Roadhog to the Reaper, back to the Roadhog, and I'm just playing back and forth between corners and high ground. And just stay kind of with your team as much as possible while harassing. And here, don't be afraid to chase down Tracers, actually. You can do a lot of damage to Tracer, and forcing her to recall or to waste blinks is really, like, efficient, because that means she's not able to distract your team. Another evasive maneuver, this is pretty common sense, but just AD movement, right? So if you're trying to contest somebody at a range like this, I don't want to go and push her into melee range. Also, I think, you know, that's not a bright idea because she has the one-shot potential. But what you can do instead is you have the W, the A, the S, and the D. And those are the movement keys. And you just want to spam A and D and then throw in control as well as much as possible. And so you just want to make sure you have speed boost on, especially if you're at full health, and you want to spam AD movements with your control, and you don't want to make predictable movements. Something that I find with a lot of Lucio players is if you jump, it's much easier to tell and to hit someone like Lucio if he's wall riding or in the air, because when you're jumping around in the air, it's obvious where you're going to go. So if you jump, they know where you're going to go, what direction you're heading, and where you're landing. And your movement's kind of more predictable because you can't control your movement in the air like a Pharah can. So in that instance, you're kind of more predictable with your jumps. In a situation like this, when we're in a narrow section, a little hallway, there's not really any corners for me to play around while doing damage. And this is just a nice little tactic that you can do. See, I'm just going to spam crouch, and I'm not going to stick around. I'm not going to push my luck. I'll do like 1 or 2 shots at her, and then I'll get out of there. There's no reason for you to commit to anything as Lucio. You just want to be disruptive, annoying, and make them not like have a good time. Make them question, like, man, am I even really getting value of playing Widowmaker right now? That's kind of your goal. Now, you can commit to some targets. Like a Torbjorn, for example, who doesn't have, like, Torbjorn is actually super easy hitbox. You can just bully him. In an instance like this, where Widowmaker's alone and you have Speed Boost and a Doomfist with you, you want to commit to that. You want to single out people who are alone that you are capable of killing. So here's some movement. See, I'm not committing to this Roadhog. I'm using my boost to heal, and while I'm healing, I'm healing other people as well because I'm sticking close to my team. And here I'm just going to keep moving. Also, one thing I would like to talk about, not only am I moving around edges a lot to just try and so he can't hook me, but something I'm trying to do, and this is always something that you can do as Lucio, if you see somebody on the high ground, your goal is to push this bad boy right off. If you get somebody out of position because you can boop them off the high ground, you can call that out and your team should be able to focus on them. Pushing people off high ground is an extremely easy kill. Unfortunately, it's a little harder to push off unless they're a little bit closer to the edge or they're moving in that direction. So here I'm bullying them a little bit, but I'm going to use my speed boost to retreat around corners, and that's something you should always do. Don't commit to a Roadhog because you don't have the damage to kill him. You just have the potential to waste his time. See, all I'm doing is this Roadhog is literally doing nothing, and while that's happening, my team is killing everybody. Their team doesn't have their tank, who could be hooking and healing and soaking damage. I mean, he's just not effective. So that's one thing that Lucio's good at. He's making, another thing here is something that I wasn't able to do, but if you see somebody that does get hooked, you could speed boost and boop the Roadhog to the left, somewhere out of the way so his damage isn't close up to the person that he hooks. You can kind of, not like fully save some, but you can almost save somebody. It kind of depends. If like the enemy team has a bunch of people shooting, then it won't matter. But if it's just a Roadhog, you can just boop the Roadhog away. Basically, you want to look at an enemy and you want to see what they want to do, and then you want to disrupt them at that crucial moment to where that doesn't happen. And in this instance, if a Roadhog's hooking, try to go in speed and then boop them away so they can't get the finishing blow, right? And this can be the instance with a lot of things. You can also use this with a lot of other ultimate abilities that your team has. For example, if you have like, I don't know, like a Hanzo who can dragon, you can use your boop in order to boop people into the Hanzo dragon that are trying to run away from it. You can also boop people that are trying to run away from a Diva Bomb. So here, we're kind of at a disadvantage. I think one of our teammates like left the game or something, which is really unfortunate, but I think he comes back and we're gonna have to just like play for time. Also, one thing to note, don't be afraid to use health packs as Lucio. Stay on speed boost and just go to a health pack. Because like right there I was at 4 health and it was really risky for me to try and like stay in that location. You want to just use your speed boost, go to a health pack, and then get out of there, as opposed to just wasting time trying for your passive heal. So here I'm going to be using a lot of my speed to try and get to a different side because I know that Torbjorn turret is there. One of the big strengths to Lucio is playing on the objective, because it's kind of where you want to be. You can boot people off the objective, which allows for some like really funny C9 plays. It also just heals everybody on the point, and you can also switch to speed in instances when you don't need the healing, which helps your team finish and kill people quicker. If you're not using your speed boost and you're just staying really passive and on healing all the time, I mean, healing as Lucio is great, but there are other characters that do healing like better, and if all you're doing is healing, you might as well just swap to like Moira or something, or Ana. Speed boost is basically the name of the game with Lucio, and you need to make sure you utilize that. So on this map, for example, I could have just rolled out here and I could have just kept going really quickly, but you don't want to do that, especially on Ruins. Ruins is one of the best Widowmaker maps, and so from this point of view, there's like a place right here where Widowmaker can be, one right here, and right up top. And you can also kind of like be right here, and I think there's like a pillar. There's like so many locations for Widowmaker, they're insane. But another reason why I'm not going to push out alone and go really fast is because there's no point to, because I want to make sure my speed boost is being utilized the most for the teammates. And if I just skip all the way ahead past them, then they're not going to get to the point as quicker. So as you can see, even though I could keep doing that rollout and keep going forward, look where my team is. You know, they're not as quick as you. So always keep that in mind. You want to make sure to speed your team in there. You can see the Widowmaker already has a shot right there, so you got to be careful with Widowmaker. But you want to just make sure that you stay with your team and give them the aura as much as possible. Don't try to do flanking adventures too much. Not at the beginning anyways, on a control map. So here I'm going to try and push them over around and make them scared of this location. One of the things about Lucio is even if you're not going to be able to kill them, like obviously the area for the environmental kill is like a circle over here, right? And then I think it's like a flat lane. But even if the area of the enemy is like here or something, obviously my boop isn't going to like push them all the way off the edge. But something that I can do is I can just like make my presence known to where the enemy is going to be like, okay, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be over to this location, because if I stay over here too long, the Lucio is going to be on these pillars and he's probably going to boot me off the edge. You kind of just want to let him know that you're in this area, and that kind of contests them. Even if you're not actually contesting them, if you're not actually booping them off, it's going to keep them scared, and it's going to basically deny them from ever going to this part of the map. Which is good, because there's a mega health pack right here, and that means that they're not going to go for it. It's like you're on a route and you're on a patrol. So what you want to do is you just want to show them that you're there. Not necessarily commit, but just show them, hey, if you screw up, I can punish you for it. And that makes them go over to different locations, which is great when you're running a team comp like this, by the way. If we're running like a Ryan and Zarya, it means that you want people to kind of come to you. If you got people over here who are flanking and on the opposite side flanking, you know, your shield is only going to cover what's in front of you, which is this location over here with the Roadhog. So everybody's going to be able to flank and shoot you from different directions. And so being able to deny an enemy positioning like that, kind of like a tank would deny enemy positioning, you can do the same thing with Lucio. You deny them positioning where there's environmental zones. This is of course different on each map, but in this instance on Ilios is like Lucio's favorite map. So this is definitely a good area. This is a perfect map for Lucio too. So one thing to keep in mind is you want to boot Briggs as much as possible too, because Briggs want to get in melee range, and once they're in melee range, it's so difficult to deal with, especially as Lucio, because you're not going to be able to kill a Brig. You know, she gets in, she's going to do damage, she's going to heal, she's hard to kill with her armor, especially for teams there. So you just want to try and boop her away and try to just get her out of position. So another thing that's kind of weird here is that they're running a Torbjorn, which is also kind of bad for Lucio, because you want to, usually I would be around these pillars and I'd be jumping around these pillars and I'd be able to like shoot at people and boop at people while uncontested, but the turret would actually make me stop that, because the turret's just going to shoot at me no matter what, because it just auto locks on you, right? So that's not something I want to do. So something I'm going to be looking to shoot at the turrets and kill them as much as possible too. You don't have to spend like all your time shooting the turret, but as long as you have somebody else helping you with it, I think it's good, because especially if the guy's just like, I don't know, using his hammer like this guy is. So he uses Molten Core. I'm going to go ahead and use my heal as much as possible here to try and get through the damage, but I'm also going to just annoy the Torbjorn too. So here I'm going to try to take care of the turret while taking little damage, but also while I'm doing this, I'm just using my AD movement that I was talking about, and I'm going to use my heal boost. This is kind of weird because the Torbjorn is something I don't like here, is that my team isn't helping me shoot at it. It's really easy to kill a Torbjorn turret, but we use the Doomfist ult to take care of it, and that'll show him. Show him who's boss. Get him, Doomfist. All you really need to do is just have like Widowmaker help me shoot it like once or something. So once somebody's stuck in grab, you can do a lot of damage, but don't wake them up. No reason to. You're not going to be able to kill the Roadhog. So I'm going to focus on healing, try to get my beat as quickly as possible here. Use my boop, try to play around these corners. Unfortunately, we're going to lose this map. It just wasn't our map. So here's a great little spot with Lucio. I think everybody knows how to do this. You just want to look for boops. What I like to do with Lucio though is I don't like to drop immediately. I like to stay up on the lighthouse and just kind of look to see where everybody is, where the positioning is, and if there's any potential boops. I'm not going to go in blind. If you go in blind, that's how you get punished. You want information before you go for these plays. See, I see that they have a Widowmaker, so you also gotta consider who you're able to boop on their team. If they have like a Diva or a Winston, you know, a Pharah, you're not gonna be able to kill or boop them because they have mobility moves like a dash or something like that, and you're not gonna be able to do anything about that. A Roadhog, a Torbjorn, those are things you can look for. So here I'm going to try and kill this turret, but it's probably going to take me a little while because I think the enemy Torb is just like, I don't know, he's just hammering away. And I'm going to go for these boop kills, which are pretty easy to get on Roadhog and Briggs. And I'm going to just play around the corner and try to stay alive as much as possible while doing damage. One thing that I love doing as Lucio is kind of just disrupting where they want to be. Always get behind the enemy and then boop them backwards, because obviously he was trying to retreat there. He had the Wraith form, so it didn't matter. One thing that you can do with Lucio 1v1s is just not even bother too much. I mean, if you're beating them with damage, that's good, but ultimately it doesn't really do that much. So here I'm going to just try to kill the Torbjorn turret again because I think I'm the only one shooting at it, which is rather unfortunate. But I'm not going to waste too much time with the Lucio. Lucio is kind of hard to deal with. You want to be aware of where the Lucio is and his possibility of being able to boop you. But another thing to take note is, if you have your speed boost on or your speed aura, then if the Lucio boops you, you are going to go much further than you would normally. And that's something you can also use against the Lucio as well, because when it's green, he's going to be on speed, and you can tell when he's speeding and when he's healing. And whenever he's on speed, you can try to go for those boops, and when he's healing, you can go for the damage. So here, one of the things that you're really good at is contesting the point as much as possible, and I'm going to go ahead and use my beat there because I'm scared of the Reaper. I don't want the Reaper to do too much shotgun damage, and because his Wraith form was down, it's really easy for my team to just get aggressive and kill him. Practice your aiming with Lucio too, by the way. You want to find a sensitivity that really works with you. I use a lower sensitivity with every character. I think I use an even lower sensitivity when I'm playing Ana and Widowmaker. But I think my sensitivity is at 5, and that's always really good. So here, I'm going to just go ahead and play around the corners. If you have a lot of walls like this, you just want to be wall riding, like maximum wall ride, and then push them out of location. You want to be shooting someone in narrow hallways like this. You always want to aim for I know it sounds silly to say, but you always want to look for the headshots as Lucio. It's kind of weird, but when you have projectiles, like a Zenyatta or a Genji or a Lucio, their headshots are much easier to hit than you think. Like, it's a little bit more forgiving. Same thing with a Hanzo as well, Hanzo arrows. It's much easier, like the hitbox on the projectile is much larger than a bullet, so you can kind of hit their head. It's much more generous to hit a head with those weapons than it would be with other weapons like hitscan. So you always want to look for headshot damage because people never expect the Spanish Inquisition. I mean, people never expect the Lucio damage from headshots. It's pretty devastating, and normally you would take a long time to kill somebody with just body shots, but being able to go for the headshot damage allows you to really do like a lot. See that Widowmaker, even though I think she got me pretty low, because she hit me once there. I'm like 64, right? But because I'm able to just aim for her head and boop her off, one of the things about booping, I think you would want to keep a Widowmaker kind of close to you, because it's much harder for a Widowmaker to sit right here and try to aim at you when you're right face and you're able to just punch her. If you boop her, then you're no longer able to use your melee, which is an extremely really good way to execute someone. You can throw in a boop for the 25 extra damage, which is pretty good, but throwing a melee in is a better way, more efficient way to throw the execute at somebody rather than using the boop. But here I'm going to go ahead and boop the Widow though, because booping a Widow off the high ground right next to the edge is kind of, you know, what you want to go for, and as soon as you do that and the Widowmaker is over here now, I mean, I was going for the environmental kill, which just would have been impossible, but if she's on this ground, she's now going to be panicking because she's also like a second away from getting booped even further over the edge. So it just applies more pressure. And as you boop them, just make sure that you can do it in a way that you can land your left click shots much easier when you do that. Always use your boop. It's a very low cooldown. You can always use your boop. Don't feel like you need to like save it for too much. In instances at higher level games, saving your boop is really good. At lower ranks, I don't think you have to worry about it as much. But I think at a higher rank game, some of the things that happens is they'll have very well coordinated dives on your team, and you want to save your boop to disrupt those dives. At this low rank, you won't see the enemy team like diving together very easily, and it's much more difficult for them to do something like that. So here I'm gonna go ahead and just boop this Widow round as much as, like, she has no chance, right? Widowmakers at lower ranks like this, they have no chance at aiming their shots usually. As long as you're very fast with your movements, you're playing off the walls, you're jumping, and you're able to just boop and melee and left click, she'll die eventually, especially if she's alone like that. Widowmakers at close range are not going to be able to hit you, so do not respect them. The only time you need to respect a Widowmaker is depending on the map and where she's going to be set up, and she has the high ground and you're not able to reach her, you don't want to sit there and contest her at a long range, obviously. So in summary, at the lower ranked games as Lucio, you want to make sure that you're using your wall ride as much as possible. You want to make sure that you can contest as many close range people and boop them away from their objective, which is to get in close range and to contest people. For example, you want to make sure that you can boop those Reapers and Briggs away from the kill zone, boop those Reinhardts away. Always use your boop to try and combo with something. Boop people backwards into a bad position, boop them off high ground, boop them into your teammates' ults such as a Hanzo Arrow. You can boop more people into a Zarya Grav if some of them escaped. One thing that I also like to do on control maps, if you can get a main tank that plays Orisa, you can tell Orisa to use her right click to get the enemy grouped up closer to the environmental kill edge, and then you can use your boop right after. It's kind of like an extra way to get the enemy into a position ready for you to boop them into the environmental kill zone. It's really great, but it only works on certain maps. Never commit to a single target unless you see that they're in like a really 50 health or low, like a bar, so you can just speed boost and melee right click for that 50 burst damage. Anyways, those are just some of my general tips on Lucio. I hope you guys learned something from it, and I'll see you guys next time.